I want to talk about something most people hate hearing, which is saying no. And it's not really easy. It's uncomfortable. It makes most people upset, to be honest. And saying no is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. I learned this throughout high school and even starting college recently. And at first, I thought I had to say yes to everything, every invite, every group, every chance to try to fit in. And honestly, it wore me out. I was, drained, always busy, anxious, confused. Then I started experimenting. I started saying no. Small things at first. Skipping a hangout or passing on a social event or, choosing not to just doom scroll. And, at the first time I did it, it felt weird, but almost like as if I was guilty, like I was disappointing someone. But it was also freeing. Give me this peace. Most people think saying no is about rejection, which it really isn't. Saying no is about protecting your time, your energy, your peace. Every no you say is a yes to something bigger. A yes to growth, a yes to focus, a yes to your standards. I started realizing, the people who respect you the most, they respect your boundaries. And, the people who don't, they aren't meant to be taking a part in your life anyways. So, I said no to the things that, kind of didn't serve any purpose to me or, any of that sorts. Not replying to, texts, that weren't important, kind of, not going out just to impress people, not wasting time on distractions that felt good but meant nothing. And, it's not about being antisocial or trying to be nonchalant or trying to be cold, it's about being deliberate and, adding value to yourself, enough to choose wisely. And, the fun thing is, once I started saying no, I noticed that opportunities would actually show up, and they actually mattered. And the things I cared about, people who align with me, my energy, my focus, my goals, things that contributed to my growth. Sometimes you have to be that selfish. Saying no is a part of that. Most people never say no in their entire lives. They say yes because they want that approval, and they say yes because it's easier. And that's how a lot of people lives end up drained. They feel stuck, frustrated, and wondering why life wasn't moving forward or isn't moving forward. Saying no isn't selfish. Saying no isn't bad. And saying no is a self-respect. It's discipline, it's focus, it's the light at the end of the tunnel for some people. And here's the truth really nobody says. And saying no doesn't close doors, it opens them. And it opens the right ones, ones that actually matter. So start practicing it. Say no what doesn't serve to you. Say no to what drains you. Say no to what feels easy but meaningless. You'll notice that the world doesn't end. The world it's not over. People adjust. People adapt. Slowly but, quietly, your life, it starts to kind of make sense on where you're going, where you want. What do you want in your life? Saying no isn't about that rejection. It's about choosing yourself. And, that's really the power, to be honest. That's really the power. So, saying no. Say that no.